Nicole from Crayons, Pencils, and Students Oh My, and today I'm going to share with you a little bit about the class assessment system. For a lot of pre-kindergarten teachers and other professionals that are working in like daycares and early childhood settings, this is what the system that is used to assess us. Now in my district, the pre-K teachers are not assessed on APPR. We are assessed using the class system. And the class system stands for Classroom Assessment Scoring System. So there is a whole manual that tells you all about the different areas that you're scored in. But basically there are three main areas. The first being emotional support, the second being classroom organization, and the third being instructional support. Now, instructional support is the hardest category of the three, so I'm going to focus on that. And basically, like across the country, that's the lowest scoring category. So in the instructional support domain, there are three different subcategories, and it can be found in the dimensions guide. So when we had our PD at our PD week, the person in our area that was certified in class, excuse me, came in and she showed us these manuals. So basically the things in purple on this page are the three subcategories of the instructional support domain that are the most difficult, and the subcategories are referred to as dimensions. Now, I chose to focus for this year on two different dimensions that I need some extra help in this area, and then I focused on the subcategory under the dimension that I scored the lowest in. So the subcategories under the dimension, so these are called the indicators. So for concept development, there are 4 indicators. Hopefully you can see that. And basically what you need to do is plan your day and structure it so that you're meeting these indicators. Now, two of my areas that I'm going to focus on, one is in language modeling, and the indicator that I am focusing on this year is open-ended questions. I'm going to write down these questions in lesson plans. That was one of the suggestions made by the person who did the training. Now, this is more so in center time. I'm really good about doing this in whole group lessons, and that was another thing that we were told. It is more difficult to score highly in these areas during open-ended playtime and free choice time for the students. So I really need to amp up my game during center time. So one thing that I did, they gave us these ideas in the training, were to post question prompts in your center areas. So this is what I did. I printed out all of these question bubbles. So the first one says, I wonder what would happen if. The next one said, why do you think? The next one says, let's make a list. Tell me more. I'm noticing that. And then I just made a blank one with lines. So what I'm going to do is post these in all of my different center areas, and I'm going to have these up to remind me and my assistant to be asking more open-ended questions during center time, because that's the time that I was struggling with my score in that area. Another area that I struggled in was in the concept development area of the instructional support domain. The indicator was analysis and reasoning, so right here. Now, in order to score well in this area, you should be asking how and why questions, and you should be doing lots of problem solving. So here are the two things that I'm going to be doing. One, I'm going to be putting STEM bins in my classroom in the Science Center. I am working on creating these. They're not even close to done, but I am hoping that before the end of the summer they will be complete. The second way that I'm working on this is through these, well, I guess I'm doing more than two things. Through these the question bubbles that I'm putting in my center area. The next thing that she talked to us about was the inquiry process. And to keep this in mind and to do this with your students when you're talking with them, both during whole group and during center-based learning. So I made myself a poster to go over some of the things that she talked about. But basically the inquiry process is a cycle. It goes around and around, and you can always go back and repeat it based on the same question that you started with and just looking at the same thing more deeply. So it starts with what will happen when. So the example that she gave us was once she had her daughter with her at work, and her daughter said to her, I wonder what will happen if I put water in the Play-Doh. So she didn't really want to let her put water in the Play-Doh, but she wanted to see how her daughter would work through the process. So she brought her to the kitchen in the place that she worked, and she let her daughter put water in the Play-Doh. And that was her experiment or play portion of the inquiry process. So maybe you introduce this question in your whole group circle time in the morning, and then you have the experiment part during your center's learning activities. Then you're going to write it down, have data or anchor charts, and discuss your findings. So maybe you have the students do a recording sheet to go with it and draw what they saw. Or maybe you do it as a whole group activity, all the students experiment, and then you come back and you share out together and you make an anchor chart with your findings. Any of these ways that you document what you found. Also, the gold really comes into play at this point too, because you can be taking videos of your students doing this part of the process. Then you come back, and when you discuss it, you're going to ask the what if questions. Well, what if we put some more flour in the Play-Doh with water and see if it'll go back to normal Play-Doh again? What if we had used soap instead of water when we mixed the Play-Doh together? What do you think would have happened? And then you'll make your way back to what will happen will, and you can start all over. This is really good for themed units and all kinds of other things that your students just might be interested in. And that was another thing that I found through the class. Working with your students and determining what they're interested in and letting that guide your instruction, which can be difficult when you have a curriculum that you have to follow, but there are ways to incorporate your students' interests into your everyday routine. Now, this is the poster just so you can get like a closer look at it. And I'm going to laminate this, and I'm going to keep it in my classroom, probably close to my circle time area, to remind me to ask questions like that. Now the third thing, well actually before I get into the next thing that I did, she also talked to us about the penny mover. Let me look back in my notes and see exactly what she said. It's called the penny transfer or the object transfer. And basically what you do is you choose one specific thing that you're going to do all day. Like say, I really want to focus on asking how questions. How did you get that answer? How do you know that that's what that looks like? How do you, whatever, a bunch of how questions. I'm going to keep a penny or a marble or something in my pocket. And every time I ask a how question, I'm going to move it back over to the other pocket and back and forth so that I'm realizing when I'm doing these things, and that way it'll become more of a habit quicker for me. So that is something. I don't know if I will actually do that, because in all honesty, I feel like I'll forget to actually move it over, but we'll see what happens. The next thing that I did was, well, she gave us these. And these cards are cards to increase your scores in those last 3 dimensions of the instructional support domain. So the concept development area, the quality of feedback area, and the language modeling area. And basically what these cards do are they give you strategies or things to focus on for the day. So I also made this sign that says class strategy, and then it says of the day. Whoop. Of the day. And I'm going to hang this up by my circle time area, or actually even by my front door. And I'm going to choose one of these every day. So the first one says extend our conversation. The next one says link to something I already know about. The next one says introduce new vocabulary to me. Map my actions. Now, map my actions is like a think aloud, except instead of thinking aloud your thoughts and your actions, you're thinking aloud what your student is doing as they're solving the problem, as they're presenting, as they're doing something in centers for the other students around them and for them, so that they can understand what they're doing. So this is one that I don't do often, that I need to work on. Make my phrase more complete, so talking in complete sentences. Invite me to think, so there's those how and why questions. Relate this to my life, so making text to self connections and deepening conversation. And summarize my thoughts. That's my think aloud. So when I'm doing an anchor chart, I often do these and I talk about what I'm thinking about, or if I'm doing a read aloud, I'll talk about what I'm thinking about and how I can relate it to my life. And so I do that one pretty often. And that is all of them. So all of these I'm going to rotate through, and I'm going to focus on a new one every day. Or maybe I'll rotate them every week. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to use them, but I'm going to have this displayed in my classroom to remind me. Also, it will look really good when you have somebody come in to observe you that you're focusing on these strategies to increase your instructional support domain scores. So that's another plus of using that in the classroom. Basically, that is all of the tips that I have gotten from them. I would say that if you have the class manual or access to the new dimensions guide, and this is the old dimensions guide, if you can get access to these two documents, it'll be very helpful, especially the older one, because it gives you more specific examples. Like for each indicator or each dimension, it gives you a whole page on how to improve that in your classroom. So this, I don't know, this came from a training, so I wish that I knew exactly where to get these from, but I'm sure that there's information that these have that you can get in your manual if you have a manual. But basically, that's pretty much it. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. I can put this inquiry process poster and the bubble pages on my Teachers Pay Teacher store. If you're interested in that, please also leave a comment down below. And if you would like more videos like this or videos on the gold, please like this video and be sure to share to your other teacher friends and subscribe for more videos coming soon. I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.